Today we're going to talk about astronomy and the Arcana card. And you don't need astronomy or astrology to study tarot, but if you know astrology, astronomy, you can learn tarot a lot faster. And the nice thing about astrology and astronomy is that it's a perfect paradigm for anything you might study. In fact, even like medicine, there's 7 systems in the body, and each of those systems is ruled by a planet, and within each of those systems there's things that are ruled by astronomy. So even if you're an MD and you wanted to know health better, you could apply astronomy to it. So it doesn't matter what you're studying in this world, you can do a better job of it if you know astrology, astronomy. So we're going to talk about the astronomy of it. And in the Arcana cards, you don't need it. It's just another tool to understand it. All you really need is the symbols. But since we have a lot of astrologers watching, we're definitely going to do the astronomy. But when we get into the birth card spreads, then the same astronomy is going to apply. And you're going to need that astronomy to be able to make card predictions based on your birthday. Because that's an astrological system that uses the cards as symbols of time. So we're going to talk about the astronomy. So whenever you have something that's arranged in an orderly fashion, like from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, that orderly fashion is going to follow the orderly fashion of the planets. And most people consider the orderly fashion of the planets to be something like the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So they kind of start at the Sun and they go out from the solar system. And that is an order from the Sun, but it's not an order that's really that relevant to onto Earth here. Okay? In fact, in that order that people give, they don't even give Earth. But that's relevant to the Sun. We start at the Sun and we go out. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately, we don't live in the Sun. So it's not the most important order for us on Earth. And in working with the card systems, a lot of people have tried to apply that order like to the birth card readings and stuff, and it doesn't work very well. Now, there's also the order of planets of speed, meaning the time it takes planets to revolve around the Earth. Now that's an order that's relevant to us. And that order is, the Moon is the fastest, takes 28 days, then Mercury, then Venus, then the Sun, then Mars, then Jupiter, and then Saturn. That's an order that's very relevant to us on Earth because from our point of view, we see that order, right? And if we don't see it, it's no longer astronomy that's important to us on Earth, okay? So that order, you can also take it from slowest to fastest. For instance, Saturn, then Jupiter, then Mars, then the Sun, then Venus, then Mercury, then the Moon. You know, it's the same order. You want to go slowest to fastest or fastest to slowest. It's the same thing. So in astronomy, we actually tend to go in that order, where we start with Saturn and so on, okay, from the slowest to the fastest planet. And every hour of every day is ruled by a different planet. And the planets, they're like playing this vicious game of dice, you know. And every planet gets a turn, and he gets to play for an hour and rule the world for an hour. And gets to make his little move to try to do whatever he wants. And the way those rules are played is that they go from order of the slowest planet goes to the fastest planet. Okay? So Saturn onwards to the Moon. And so every hour of every day, we change it. So now is a certain hour, an hour later will be the hour of the next fastest planet, and so on. Okay? Those are called the horrors or hours of the planets. And that happens 24 times a day. The fact that we have 24 hours is an astronomical consideration. It's not an arbitrary thing that was made up. The Hindus had it, the Greeks had it. It goes back to way in the past. So with 24 hours in the day, say on Sunday, the first hour is ruled by the Sun. And then you go on to Saturday. Well, if you go every hour through all the planets a few times, Saturday morning, the first hour is going to be ruled by Saturn. Okay, just by going in that order. And then if you go from first hour on Saturday and you go every hour through the next day, and you, Saturday, Sunday, well, I'm going backwards here, sorry. Sunday, Monday follows Saturday, I'm going backwards in the week here. Alright, so Sunday, if you go every hour from Sunday, the next day, the first hour is ruled by the moon. And that's why Monday is the day of the moon. And that's why Sunday is the day of the sun. And in India, they call Tuesday the day of Mars. And lots of other countries do that as well, a lot of other cultures. And so from Monday, the first hour, we go through 24 hours, and there's 7 planets only, right? So you go through those 7 planets, there's 3 left, and then so the next day always starts on the 4th planet. So Tuesday, the first hour is Mars, and that means Mars, because that sunrise on that day, he rules the hour, he rules the whole day. So he's the guy playing the big moves the whole day. And all the other planets, they get little subtle moves, but Mars runs the day. And that's how the planets are literally playing with us every day. With one planet rules the day, and all the other players are doing the little adjustments they can, but Mars is the one ruling Tuesday and what happens on Tuesday. So that order, when we do that, an interesting thing happens. So let's just take the order of the planets. Like, let's start with, we're going to lay them out from the moon being the fastest to, how does this order? Okay. Mercury, Venus, the sun, there's hiding there, and then Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. So let's create this little circle of the planets in their order. So that's from slowest to fastest, whatever. Okay, if you go this way, it's from slowest to fastest, and you go this way, it's from slowest to fastest. So the way the days work, so Sunday starts on the sun, then comes Monday, then comes Tuesday, then comes Wednesday, then comes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and back to Sunday. So by taking every 4th planet from the sun, 1, 2, 3, 4, from the moon, 1, 2, 3, 4, from Mars, 1, 2, 3, 4, from Mercury, 1, 2, 3, 4, we always get to the next day of the week. So for instance, I'll do this for people who aren't familiar with the planets. Sunday is Sunday. The 4th planet from Sunday is the moon, is Monday. The 4th planet from the moon is Mars, Tuesday. The 4th planet from Mars is Mercury, Wednesday. The 4th planet from Mercury is Jupiter, Thursday. The 4th planet from Jupiter is Venus, which is Friday. And the 4th from Venus is Saturn, Saturday. So this is the order that planets are making the big things happen, basically. And you see it describes this nice little 7-pointed star that goes around and around and around. And of course, this 7-pointed star symbolizes the number 7. When we learn your geometry, you realize that star is the symbol for this number, which we know is sort of a tough number. So the planets are all playing a game of, let's kill the guys down there. Basically. You know what I'm saying? So there you go. If you don't feel hopeless, now you do. Okay. And it shows you right away that the game is about the number 7. It's about death and transformation and changing. That's the game of life. Because that's the way the planets are creating life. Alright. Okay. So when we have the order of the planets, the way they are is the sun is number 1, the moon is number 2, Mars is number 3, Mercury is number 4, Jupiter is number 5, Venus is number 6, Saturn is number 7. Okay, which is that's order of the days of the week, basically. And they rule that, because of this little diagram, because it's the hours. It all starts with the hours. Okay, now after number 8, we get, or after the 7th planet, we get Rahu and Ketu. So these 2 planets are number 8 and 9. What looks funny? Oh, like 8. Forgot how to count this morning. Okay, I see what's happening. Just they're not very square. Okay. This was a little easier to see. Okay. Rahu and Ketu are not visible planets. what Rahu and Ketu are, they're the north node and the south node of the moon. And they're on their places where the intersection of the sun's path around the earth intersects with the path of the moon around the earth. And when those 2 points intersect, we get Rahu and Ketu. And they are the points where eclipses occur. But they're not actual bodies. Like, these planets are actually physical things that exist. These two don't exist. They're just mathematical points. They rule number 8 to 9. So these planets here, they rule the day because they're actually players, they're actually entities. The Rahu and Ketu, they don't rule the day. We don't have a 9-day week for a reason. Because these guys don't have arms and legs to even roll the dice. Okay? And so this is your natural order. And anytime you're dealing with a system of numbers, you can just use this natural order. For like numerology, if you do numerology and you take a person's name and you say, oh, this is their number, well, if they have a lot of letters falling in number 5, they're going to have a lot of Jupiter in their makeup. Okay? And so whatever Jupiter represents, that's going to be a big part of their makeup. So you can actually apply this to numerology, and it works really well. Like I said, I always find people trying to relate numbers and things to planets in ways that just doesn't really work. And as an astrologer, you just look at it and just have to laugh when you read the meanings that some of them give. And there's some people that talk about Mercury as being passion. You know? A sense of humor, but that's different than passion, okay? All right, okay. So now that we have this order, we can relate this to understanding the arcana cards somewhat better. So the sun is number 1. Well, that makes sense when we think of the sun, right? Yeah, of course the sun is number 1 because the sun is number 1. But when you think about the moon, you're like, wait a minute. The moon doesn't make sense. The moon should be number 2. Okay? We have to remember these are the polarity. This is the masculine side of the psyche. This is the female side of the psyche. They're the things, that they're the king. They're the rulers of our lives. And that's what the sun is. The sun is the king. Okay, it's the power force behind it. It's our connection to our soul. So the male half of the psyche expresses what's in our soul, and the female half of the psyche reflects upon what's in our soul. And of course, the moon is a reflection of the sun. So the sun and moon in many ways are the same thing. It just appears different. So the sun is that new thing. It's always the first thing. The sun gave birth to our solar system, and the sun gives birth to new things. Like we learned, these cards have to do with birth. Okay? So when there's a birth of a feeling, which is the moon, the birth of something in our inner life, as we talked about, that is going to be something that's going to be the focal point, the existence, the center of our emotional life, right? And that's what the sun basically is. It's the center of our solar system in simple astronomical terms. It's what's giving light and illumination to our solar system. So the moon does that too. The moon is the center of our emotional life. It's the center of our feelings. It's the center of our inner universe. The sun is the center of our outer universe. So when the sun card comes up interpretation, well, somebody might get a baby. But if they do, they're making that baby the center of their universe. A person or their solar system, I mean, their life is now going to revolve around a baby. People have kids on the fly, you know, they like catch them on their way to whatever the next mission in life is as they pop out of the hospital and they go on. They're never going to have this child indicated by the sun. They might have the child indicated by something else nice. But people who make something the center of their solar system, that thing is going to be their sun. And for many people that will be children, but for different people it will be different things. In a spread, when you see the sun come up, well, it's the center of their solar system. It's the center of their external life. When the moon comes up, oh, something is coming up that's the center of your inner life. So if you see the moon come up, you say, wow, something new, because it's new, number 1, has come up that's the whole center of your emotional life. It's where every emotion is revolving around that thing now. Just like when you have a baby, and the baby's your sun card, everything you do, your hours, your sleep hours, the people you see, the recreation you do, starts revolving around that little 1-day-old, right? Okay, so the sun, this is what our lives are going to revolve around, that first thing. Okay? So when they come up, you know this is the center of their life. Something new has come that is becoming the center of their life. And that can always be an adjustment, right? Because it's like, okay, now I have to make all these adjustments and manage all this stuff. And that's where number 2 comes in. Number 2 is basically us as individuals managing that new thing in our lives. That's why we need our emperor, our male side, our masculine management side, to manage all the material things so that our life doesn't fall apart. We can feed the baby, take care of the wife, pay the bills, finish our job, and still somehow get enough sleep so we don't physically die. Okay? So the emperor has to manage all that. The empress, she over here, she's the individual that manages our emotions. So she's going to figure out how to have enough peace so she doesn't want to throw the baby out, get enough nourishment so she can survive. So basically, staying emotionally centered. It's the empress that has to figure out, how am I going to manage my feelings about all this so I can stay centered. As always, she's running this. And the moon, of course, is your individuality. In astrology, the moon is the ego. It's actually what we call the manas, which is the receptive mind that takes everything in. And within that manas, we have what's called the ego. Okay? So these 2 planets are very much the individuals. So a person might have a baby, right? And they're going to manage their lives totally differently, right? Through the emperor. So one person has a baby, is managing their baby this way. Another person is managing their baby in a completely different way. The same way that the government of the United States, the emperor of the United States, manages the United States totally different than does the government of India. All right? So, but they're both running a country, right? Which is the sun. That's the main thing, is the sun. But this is the individual management. That's always going to be different. So the moon brings this individuality to us, based on a person's ideas, their feelings about things, and everything. We all manage it differently. But really, we manage things differently because of the individuality of the thing. So when you have a child, you're going to manage that child in accordance with, and your life in accordance with the child. If he sleeps all night, you're going to manage it completely differently than the kid who wakes up every 20 minutes screaming for food, right? So, and the same with countries. You have to manage a country that, gets devastating floods every year, completely different than a country that is fighting a territorial war. You have to manage them totally different. Your priorities are completely different. So the moon is all those different individuality things. It's like, okay, I have to manage this. I have to manage my emotional life. I have to manage my material life, and we're going to do it in very different ways. So when these 2 cards come up in interpretation, the person is searching for the way that they can manage their life in a way that works for them. It's not going to be the way that works for everyone. So for instance, the baby comes out and the moon has a feeling, right? So everyone's going to have a feeling of sort of awe and amazement. But they're all going to manage that feeling differently depending on what their needs are, right? Okay? If a person has a lot of need for alone time, they're still going to need to, spend time alone. If a person has a lot of need to hang out with all their drinking buddies, they're going to hire more money for babysitters, right? So, but we still have this feeling of, oh my gosh, there's this amazing new little thing here, okay? We have a feeling about that thing. So when we have a feeling, whatever it is, a new feeling that becomes center of our life, we're going to manage that feeling differently. And child's I'm the best example for that. You just walk along and get a new feeling about something, and now you have to manage your life in accordance with all your needs and what that feeling means for you. So a person walks down the street, falls in love. Now they have to manage their life and their feelings and their emotional priorities in a way that they can bring that love into their life and not make a mess of their lives, right? So a lot of people have really troubled empresses maybe, and so when love comes into their life, they start managing their emotions in such a way that their life completely falls apart because they're completely fallen apart. So, and that's different for everyone. So while the sun is just that thing, it's that new thing. Everyone feels love. Everyone feels hate. Everyone feels jealousy, right? But we all manage those things completely differently through our moon-ruled emperor and empress, to say it simply. So when you see these cards up, a person struggling or has to manage something, if it comes up right side up, they're managing in a way that works for them. They're managing their emotions in a way that works for them as an individual. If the emperor comes up, they're managing their material life in a way that works for them as an individual. If they come up reverse, then The Emperor reverse means they're managing their life in a material way that is going to cause them to burn out, break down, and not fulfill their responsibilities. If the Empress comes up upside down, they're managing their emotional life in such a way that they're going to have an emotional breakdown. Okay, and they're not going to hold it together emotionally. So that's what the number 2 moon is doing. Mars is strength. He's what we call sattvam in Sanskrit, which means strength, but strength of character more. It's not like this kind of strength, bodybuilding strength. It's strength of character, it's discipline. It's fortitude. It's strength of direction. It's strength of pursuing something sensibly to a proper resolution. And so Mars obviously rules the strength card, or doesn't rule it, but relates to the strength card. So when we see the strength card coming up, the person needs to use their Mars, which means they need to use logic. They have to choose a direction. Mars is let's focus on this direction and achieve this. But Mars, while he's very direction focused, he's extremely adaptable. He's the general on the battlefield. In astrology, Mars is the general. So the general, he creates a strategy to win, and then he changes that strategy to win. Okay? Because it's never going to happen the way you think. It's like playing chess. You open up with a move. You start the battle, you initiate the war, and you're going to have to make countless adjustments to your plan if you want to win that. And that's how Mars is. In fact, astronomically, Mars is the most shiftable and changeable planet out there. One time he'll retrograde for 1 month. Another time he'll retrograde for 6 months. He's like, there's no order to him. The other planets, pretty much Mercury will retrograde pretty much the same amount of time every time. All the other planets will, but not Mars. He's just haphazard that way. And that's because that's how Mars is. He's the planet that makes the logical adjustments as things start happening. And that's an important part of Mars. And so strength does that. It has the strength to replan something. It has the strength to change directions. It has the strength to reassess the situation. And upside down Mars, or upside down strength card, can be a person who decides, I'm going to do it this way. And they keep doing that way, even when every sign is showing you need to go left, they keep going straight, and they die, run into the ambush that they knew was there. So good strength is adaptable strength. It's flexible strength, right? It's not like a club. It's like a sword, right? It has to have enough flex and adaptability. And you have to use your weapon in an adaptable way. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to hack at you with my sword like this. You have to be adaptable. So strength is also the ability to adapt logically to the need at hand. Okay? Another way of looking at strength, I remember reading a magazine article a long time ago, how it was comparing men to women, like back in the 80s in some sports magazine, or some magazine, and it was talking about how, men are stronger than women. They're just got more muscles. But if women take their time to figure it out, they can physically do everything a man can. So let's say we want to lift 1,000 pounds. Well, one burly man might be able to lift that 1,000 pounds. That's a little too much. But he lifts it. There's no woman that's going to lift 1,000 pounds. There's men who can. Okay? He's going to lift that 1,000 pounds. Well, the woman, she's not going to be able to do it. But if she's adaptable, and she goes, geez, I'm going to get a pulley and a winch, she'll lift 1,000 pounds, maybe 2,000 pounds. So strength, and that makes her strong. That makes her as strong as the man, right? Because she was adaptable and didn't just see one way of doing it. So strength is that capacity to give us the adaptability to do it the way that's efficient and works. It's not just a blind strength of, It's like, oh, that didn't work, let's see if I can find the lever, And I really noticed that a lot with people. Like, Mars rules like engineering. It rules construction and engineering and building things. Well, anyone who's ever built something, there comes a point where it just doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Like, even when you put something together, like you're trying to assemble something, there's a point where it doesn't work and you're following the damn directions, it's just not going in. It's just not working. Well, at that point, the strong person the right side up strength will say, oh, this isn't working. And they'll figure out a way to make it work. They'll adapt it, change it. The upside down side of Mars will just keep using brute force, right? So, that, you know what I mean? Some people just keep using brute force. Another person with their good Mars is going, okay, this isn't working, let's figure out another way to do it. In fact, the common definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Okay? Because that's just as illogical, right? That's just so illogical. So insanity is the opposite of logic. And Mars is the planet of logic. So strength is logical. If you hit something, if you try to put a stake in the ground, you hit it with a hammer, it doesn't go in. Is it logical to keep hitting it all day long? No. Go get a bigger hammer. Right? That's the logical thing to do. But an upside down strength card will keep using that little hammer that's never going to put it into the ground. So strength is adaptable and flexible and almost always changes. If anyone's ever tried building anything, you know every time you have to change your strategy, right? It's like, even like a simple thing, even like painting a wall. You go, oh, I'm just going to paint it like this. Well, you got to change your strategy 10 times during that painting that one single wall. And if you don't, you'll get frustrated. So that's what Mars is. So that's easy to see. But Mars is strength of character too. And now we're dealing with the temperance part of Mars, okay? Which is that ability to restrain, to hold oneself together, to be strong and adaptable and flexible inwardly, okay? So you have, say you have an idea to present to someone, you present it to them and it starts coming out in a way that all of a sudden all your feelings are hurt and you're getting angry and frustrated because things just didn't work out the way you meant to. And failed relationships are always upside down female cards, female half psyche cards. So Mars, when it comes to temperance, instead of getting angry and frustrated and yelling, which is hitting it and getting mad with the hammer that's not heavy enough, it is adapt. It's flexible, just like the sword. It's not just a blunt, brute object. It's an adaptable, flexible. So the person will adapt to the inner changes. I was really feeling like I love this idea and I really wanted to work with this person who's my friend, but now I'm feeling like I want to shoot the person. So you're going to shoot them? No, you're not going to shoot them. You're going to adapt to your feelings. You're going to restrain those negative feelings. You're going to pull them in, and you're going to try to figure out a logical way that you can get back to those healthy feelings that you had before you started that discussion with the person. With the bad temperance, you won't be able to do that. With the good temperance, you'll be able to do it better. Okay? So again, it's the same manifestation of strength, but inwardly. So that's when you're fighting all your negative things that came up. So like say you're going to build something and you start building, all of a sudden things start going wrong. Well, same thing goes on inwardly. All of a sudden all these bad feelings came up. You're like, where did these bad feelings about this thing or person come up? I wanted to kiss them, now I want to throttle them, Well, those feelings came up. And you have to deal with them the same way when somebody's trying to build a bridge, they find out there's problems. Oh, we're 2 boards short, but we have to get it done in 5 minutes because the enemy's coming. What are we going to do? We're going to figure out a way to make the bridge work. Same with this. Gosh, all of a sudden I'm really angry, and this is not where I want to be. This isn't my goal. So basically, Mars is the planet we use, the strength we use to achieve the goal we have, whether inwardly or outwardly. We have an inner goal of being at peace and with happiness and love. And Mars uses our strength of character to fight for that goal through temperance. And it uses, through fortitude or strength, Mars uses that strength to achieve our goals externally. And we have to remember, as we look at Mars and just look out in the sky, he's all over the place. He's the most messy planet up there. We have to realize that that requires adaptability and flexibility. Okay? It's just really simple. A sword that's not flexible will break. It's just that simple. A good weapon is flexible and strong and sharp, and that's how you need your Mars to be. Logical and flexible, so that you can apply your logic as you need it to achieve your goal. And again, number 3, as we learned, is the V-pot hindrance number, right? Okay, number 3 always calls a wrench into our plans. There's always a hindrance that we have to overcome. And Mars is the planet that rules that. In astrology, Mars is called a cruel planet or malefic planet because he brings these challenges to us. But in your charts, he's a great planet. In your life, he's a good planet because he's the planet that lets you overcome those problems. And there's always those problems. And as I mentioned it, in the last class, I give an example how 2 of hearts is love, 3 of hearts is, hindrance to love. It's doing all the things you do so you can have the secure love at the number 4. Well, even even in that, like even in planning engagements or building a house, people start getting really angry with each other, right? They're like, I want the room this size and you want the room that size, you know? And I don't want pink ceilings. And, you know, so people all of a sudden they're building this lovely home together, but along that way there's going to be so many hindrances in their desires and needs. So Mars is the planet that keeps the goal in mind. The goal is to have a house we both love in. The goal is not to have pink ceilings, right? The goal is to have a house that we love to be in together. That's why we started building the house. So as a good Mars will keep that in mind and temper himself and control himself and restrain his negative things so he can logically work towards that conclusion. Okay? So that's Mars for you. Now Mercury is number 4. And Mercury in astrology, don't forget forgetting these two because they're not real planets. They're not visible concrete planets. But out of these 7, Mercury's in the middle. In astrology, Mercury is always in the middle. He's always the balancing fulcrum, or the one that has the qualities of everyone else. He's the most balanced, versatile planet. And interesting enough, here he rules number 4, which is the security number. And he rules the, or relates to the Hierophant, the Preceptor, and the High Priestess. Okay? And you think of that, it's like, well, how can that be? How does Mercury deal with the precepts? Wouldn't that be Jupiter? At first initiation, you want to think Jupiter rules these two. Okay? And you think of that and you go, okay, I'm going to pretend this is true. That's not Jupiter. Because almost always people were like these to Jupiter, especially the Hierophant. In fact, in lots of decks, they call him Jupiter. And they'll call the High Priestess Juno, which is one of Jupiter's spouses. So they relate that card to Jupiter, actually. And it's so easy of a connection to make. But when you orderly arrange them, what happens? Does it make sense? Well, let's see. Can we learn from it? That's why you always have to ask yourself, can you figure out meaning behind it? It's a book and you're trying to learn from it. You're not ripping pages out and rearranging it, right? You're trying to learn from the book, not write the book. You can write the book, but we'll try learning from the book first, if possible. Well, first let's go over here to the High Priestess. The High Priestess is the all-knowing quality of the moon. And of all the qualities we've talked about when it comes to the moon, that's the most important one in my book. You know what I mean? When I think of the moon, the greatest virtue of the moon, sure, she's sweet speech, she has auspicious eyes, I love her round body, I love all those parts about her. When it comes down to it, the most important part of the moon is the High Priestess. There's no amount of curves, there's no amount of auspicious speech, there's no amount of, beautiful eyed, there's no amount of lovesickness that's as good as the moon who just knows what is, right? It's like all those other things are replaceable for that one quality. It's like the highest quality of the moon. And that's number 4, the number of security. Now, the Mercury in astronomy happens to be the son of the moon, the child of the moon. So it makes sense that the Mercury card is a really, really important card for that. Okay? So, Mercury we can look at through the High Priestess lets that all-knowing feeling of the moon connect with our brain, connect with our understanding, and connect with us being able to verbalize it. Because if we have an all-knowingness, say we're a reader and we know what, we just have this insight of knowingness about why this person's in this situation, but we can't say anything. They're like, I need this reading, this happened to me, what's it mean? And you're like, So I go, oh, you want me to cross your hand with silver first? And then you'll tell me. So I give you $100 in silver coins, and you go. And they're gone. Next. It's not going to do anyone any good if you can't communicate it. And Mercury's the planet of communication. So the High Priestess through Mercury through the High Priestess, we can say, communicates the all-knowingness to ourselves and perhaps to others as needed. Okay, so the High Priestess is the one that actually communicates that quality of all-knowingness. And in communicating it, it makes it real. Okay? Now, the Mercury also, when we relate the planets to the chakras, the Sun and Moon are here in your third eye chakra. Mercury is your throat chakra. It's like the highest chakra underneath that. So now it starts making sense that these two hierarchical, other really important people are the High Priestess and the preceptor Hierophant, right? If we look at it, well, the sun's obviously a totally important planet, right? And it rules the sun and the moon, the gods, right? Then the moon's a super important planet, and the emperor and empress, well, they're just incarnations of the sun, right? Like in Egypt, the kings were considered to be incarnations of the sun and so on. And so the kings and queens, they're just incarnations of the sun and moon. They're like the sun and moon manifested on earth. That's what they literally are. In Tarot, that's what they literally are. After that, what's the next most important planet? Well, you could say, well, Mercury is really important because it's the closest planet to the sun, right? So we got the sun and moon in your chakras here, and Mercury's here. And astronomically, you have the sun, and right around the sun is Mercury, right? It's the closest planet to the sun. So when it comes to the sun, which is everything that's material communicating the precepts of how to live, again, it's Mercury. See, these two planets are communicators of the sun and moon, basically. Or Mercury is the communicator of that. The way that the sun wants life to go, he communicates to the preceptor using Mercury. Okay? Again, if the preceptor doesn't talk, if he knows all the rules and he's just like this, and you're like, please help me, please tell me all your wisdom, he's like this, doesn't help you. He's not your preceptor then. He might be somebody else's preceptor if someone else can get him to talk or communicate in any fashion. So these two planets need Mercury's communication in order to work with us. The other thing they need Mercury rules, this is the ether chakra. Okay? Ether is what encompasses everything. All the other elements dance within the ether. Okay? Unfortunately, modern physicists, most of them have said ether doesn't exist. Now they're starting to bring it back in finally. Without ether, everything falls apart. Which means without Mercury, everything falls apart. Mercury is the one who can pull it all together and therefore make sense of it all. It can pull it all together. Only ether pulls it all together. If you have someone who's, if you go to someone for advice and they're really an emotional person, and they're all about just emotions, and you go and ask for advice, they're like, oh, that's the saddest story I've ever seen. And they start crying, you're like, I didn't come to see you cry. I mean, plenty of go and see someone cry, just go look in the mirror. Okay, it's not going to work. That person has to be able to hear your problems. It has to see your problems in the greater concept of your whole life, right? You're coming with your problem because you're like, I got this little problem right here. And they're like, okay, you got this problem, you have this, in this context of the entirety of your life. So advice that's not taken in the context of the entirety of your life and the entirety of your civilization and the entirety of the universe is not going to be good advice, right? So Mercury is the planet that lets us see the entirety of it. Okay? So that's why the people who give the advice to Hierophant and the High Priestess are Mercury-related cards, because they can see the entirety of it and therefore give good advice. Like if you go to a guru and you're married and you have kids and you're like, oh, my wife is giving me issues. He's like, so get rid of her, just come to the ashram. You're like, well, I'm married and my kids are great and I love my wife. Just marry and go to the ashram. It's like, wait a minute, that doesn't work for me. Another guy comes in and says, I'm 18, I just got done with high school, just broke off with my girlfriend, I don't even miss her, what should I do? Go to the ashram. I guess I'll take that advice, sounds like good advice. Complete different realities, different advice. So they need different advice. So Mercury is the one that's able to see the entirety of the picture in a detached way. So if you go to a good Hierophant, they see your life in the context of your life. If you go to a Hierophant that's upside down for a reading or advice, they give you advice that's not in the context of your life. And there means it's not a good advice. Same with the High Priestess. If you go to a High Priestess that's right side up, she gives advice that relates to the wholeness of your life. And not, if you go to an upside down High Priestess, she's projecting onto you, whether it's a male or female reader, right? So these guys have to see it in the entirety. Now the other important thing about Mercury I wanted to mention that relates to these planets, I had it, I wouldn't forget it. Gosh, I'll remember it. I'll have to come back to it. Another really important thing about Mercury having to do with those two planets. Oh yeah, Mercury, this is the security, right? Okay. Security, Mercury is a big planet that gives a lot of security. In astrology, there's a chart we use, it's called the fourth chart, the fourth divisional chart. See number 4? The most important planet in that is Mercury, and that's a chart of fortune. It's the abundance you get in this life. It's the abundance you get that makes you secure, right? And that's achieved through your merit of these two guys. Okay? So that's why Mercury rules these two. So that's what I'm trying to learn from this, even though my initial reaction is Jupiter is the Hierophant, right? Well, guess what? Jamie says Jupiter is full of wisdom. Well, he has to be the Hierophant, right? Jupiter knows the Vedas. Well, he has to be the Hierophant, right? He's wise. And then he says, but he doesn't speak much. So he's not going to do me any good, right? When I'm going to advice, I don't need him. He's not going to do any good. Okay. Mercury, though, Mercury is charming and has a sense of humor. What's the hard advice without a sense of humor, right? It hurts. It's not good advice. You know, Yogananda said, having a sense of humor is an important quality to have to get through life sanely. Okay, and that's Mercury, right? So, you know, do you want to go to a Hierophant who doesn't talk? Or the one who makes jokes about your life and puts it into perspective, right? That's the one you want to go to, the Mercury one. Alright, so then Jupiter's number 5. And that's really hard to swallow at first because we think number 5, but number 5 is, we've heard, averted, right? The key word for number 5 is averted. Going down the street and almost hitting a semi and just barely not hitting it. Well, Jupiter in astrology is considered to be the planet that saves your ass. So if you got something bad in your horoscope and you got a great Jupiter helping out, you avoid that bad thing. He's the saving grace. If your chart's showing you're going to die in the first week of birth, and so is your mother, but you have Jupiter in the 10th house in a good sign, it doesn't happen. All that happens is there's a C-section and everyone lives happily ever after. Okay? Jupiter's the saving planet. He's the one that averts the trouble. Okay? How does he do it? By giving us judgment or prudence, doing the right thing. How I say about Jupiter, Jupiter gives us the ability, it gives us a knowledge of good and evil, which means the right and wrong thing, okay? And the luck, or grace is a better word, to do the right thing. Right? Everyone knows the right and wrong thing to do every minute of their lives. But how much of us are lucky enough or graced enough to actually do that right thing? You know? Sometimes we are when we have prudence behind us, and other times prudence is upside down, and we choose the wrong action that turns our things upside down or causes us to have that accident and not avert the trouble. So Jupiter's the planet that gives us the grace to choose right action, basically. Just that simple. He gives us that judgment of right action largely due to grace. Okay? So when somebody comes up with the judgment card upside down, you just say, you just didn't have the blessings to avoid that accident or that trouble in your life. Because that's literally what Jupiter is. Jupiter is your guru. You know, and the guru is like behind the scenes saving your ass all day long, right? Okay, that's what Jupiter is. Jupiter is the blessings, the divine blessings in your life. Well, we use those blessings to avert the negative things in our life. That's what I always laugh about people. People always praying, give me this and give me that and give me that. Oh, God's ignoring me. God doesn't give you things. You can do those things yourself. You got arms, you got legs, you got a brain. All right, God gave you those. Go do whatever you need. You can get with those 5 things. You know, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. You know, that star that makes your body. You can do everything in this world. Look at gymnasts. Look what they do with their 4 digits. They're not even using their heads. If they were, they wouldn't be doing that. But just using 4 out of 5 things. Look what a gymnast can do. It's phenomenal, right? Just some person who was born and couldn't even roll over. That's what we can do as humans. Everyone can do something like that. So people always pray, give me this, give me this. And Jupiter doesn't say anything because Jupiter doesn't talk, right? He doesn't talk back. And he doesn't give you all those things, as you can do all those things. What Jupiter does is he graces you when the difficulties are there. Okay? When you almost die, and Jupiter goes, gosh, I'm going to keep you living a little longer. And he lets you live a little longer, you know. And I always say to people always say, oh, I'm really meditating a lot, so that means my karma and my future is going to get better. I'm like, no, it's not. I said, there's not a single story out there that because a person was meditating, their guru decided to make their marriage work. No. What the guru does do sometimes, if they're working hard on their spiritual life, he extends their life. And there's devotees who've been working on their spiritual life so hard, they're supposed to die like 50 years ago, and they finally died. You know, they get these huge extensions, and the guru says, you were meant to die. This was your D-Day. And the guru keeps them alive, averts death even. So that's where Jupiter's helping out. Those near misses, those times where you did everything wrong, and you're still alive and well and sane and not poor, and people still talk to you, whatever it is, you know. And you still have a chance in life. That's when you got your blessings of Jupiter. But instead of appreciating those near misses, we sit there and complain about the things we don't have. Now, I know personally, if I add up all my near misses, okay, and I add up all the things I cry about not having, this list of near misses is huge. And this list, I really have to think about it and get a microscope out to kind of look at it, okay? But this list over here, I could tell you stories all day long. I remember the time I was driving through Idaho, because we're talking about poor judgment here. This is very imprudent, okay? I was driving through Idaho on a windy road next to a windy river, trying to get to a bike race on time to do massages that I was scheduled to do massages. And so I was speeding down this windy road in my 1974 Datsun 260 sports car, having a good old time. But when I left California 2 weeks ago, my contacts had gotten messed up, and they hurt to wear. So I decided on the whole trip I was going to do my eye exercises to improve my eyesight. So I'm doing my eye exercises, and for a while everything's perfectly clear and I can see 20/20. And then I started thinking about something else, and it starts getting blurry, and I get it 20/20. And I drove all the way from Las Vegas to Philadelphia and back again, working on my eyes. And when I got done on that trip, my eyes had improved 20% permanently. Okay? But there was times on that trip where everything was 20/20. It was beautiful. But that's really bad judgment, let's face it, right? But you know, I have a certain amount of merit that I can get through. I have a little bit of Jupiter. I can get through dumb things like that. Okay? I have Jupiter in the third, which means I know when I'm going to die. Okay? But what I didn't know was on that windy road that a bumblebee was going to come in my window, because my 1974 did not have air conditioning, right? So I got my natural air conditioning, the window's coming in, a bumblebee comes in, starts flying around and going around my leg, and I'm like, ah, poor guy. I'm not scared of bumblebees, so it was really hot, so I was like real manly, not wearing a shirt. So I had my shirt over here, and I grabbed my shirt, and I grabbed the bumblebee with the shirt, so I didn't want him to get hurt. And I'm flinging him out the window, and I'm looking at my shirt to see if the bumblebee would get off my shirt. And it's a windy road, and I look up, and there I am, just teetering on, just about to go off the edge into the Snake River or some big river. And I pull that screw of the tires, I straighten her out, keep doing her out, don't even slow down, don't even stress out, don't even get nervous. Just realize, you know, next time Bean comes in my car, I'll just leave it. So that's one of my graceful stories, okay, that grace saved me, because I shouldn't have been able to stay on the road. Then there was a time I was driving through the middle of the road in that same car, that's last journey, cruising down a dark road around the Yellowstone National Park, and it was a really narrow road. You know, not as wide as this room. Like one of the ones you had to squish over when cars were coming. And all of a sudden, there's this moose in the way. And he's walking this way. No, he's walking this way or something. So I go one way to go around him, but he literally jumps around and goes the other direction and just crashes right to my car. My car weighed 2,200 pounds. I think a moose weighs like 2 tons or something. So he outweighed my car. So his head hit my windshield, his shoulder hit my fender, and whipped me around 360 down this road, like barely wide enough to get 2 VW bugs past, you know. I do a full 360 on this little narrow road, straighten the baby out, and just keep on going. And after a while, I go, you know, should probably turn around since it's midnight and it's dark out and there's no moon, and make sure he's not laying on the road with a bad headache that someone else might run into him. So I turned around and I looked for him, and I never found him. So he just kind of kept going, I guess. So how did I keep that? I'm not a race car driver. I'm not a guy who can do a 360 on a road and keep going straight, but I did it. So it was Jupiter, it's just pure grace. So grace is the times when you should have died and you did it, okay? Or you should have got caught and you didn't. Whatever, Grace is the times when you should have, but you didn't. And that's number 5. That's when, somehow you do right action. Somehow I cranked the steering wheel just right both those times to keep that car on the road. Somehow. Could I do it? Could I go repeat that stunt? No way. Because I'm not a professional driver. I couldn't do it. I got a left foot, and that's about it. Okay. Now, the other part of the 5 is justice. So grace gives us the right judgment, to do that right thing in that time that causes us to avert the thing that wants to avert us. Okay? Then, number 5 is justice. Because that's just the way it's meant to be, right? You're meant to live, therefore even when you do something stupid, you live. It's just justice. It's the way it's meant to be. And it's that inner knowingness that, no problem. I've got really good justice, I think. Because both those times, I didn't even stress out. I didn't even stop and start shaking with adrenaline. I just kept enjoying my drive, doing 360s on the road and almost dying and enjoying my drive. Because there was all justice to me. There was no fear. There wasn't all these words of, oh, you almost died. It's like, there's no such thing as almost dying. There's either dying or not dying, right? And I was busy not dying. And I just knew it. There was all justice within me. There was never that fear, Even when I fell 120 feet off the cliff. Okay? And I'm falling there. I'm not going, oh my God, I'm so scared. I'm thinking, when you get to the bottom of this, you're going to have to see if your brain still works. Okay? It wasn't like, oh, this is going to hurt. It was justice. I'm like, we're just taking a dive. So, that's what justice does. It lets you know that everything is just right. It's always right. And that's the true wisdom of Jupiter. Okay? And that's why Jupiter doesn't speak much. Because when everything's right, what is there to say? Oh, my father died. Well, that's the right thing, Or, my kids are in jail. Like the death thing, we say that. That's right, we kind of understand. My kids are in jail, and my daughter got arrested for prostitution and has, now, first time I've seen her this winter without a shirt, she has marks all the way up her arm from needles. Yeah, well, that's just the way it's supposed to be. You don't say that, right? So you can see why Jupiter doesn't say much. Because a lot of things that are right, there's no need to talk about them. The way, Jupiter knows things are the way they're meant to be. And there's no need to talk about it. It's like, just the way it is. What is, you're either living or dying. And here's the other interesting thing. Jupiter's Sanskrit name, when he's called Guru, that's one name. He's one of my favorite names, though. I think my favorite is Jiva, which means life. Okay? So Jupiter keeps you alive. It's the life that keeps you alive. And that's a grace. And so we're graced to live. The fact that we're living, that's proof of God's acting in our life. The fact that He won't, give my son a new, computer is not, or whatever. The fact that I won't give you your love of your life or give you this or that is not showing that God doesn't exist. The fact that you're breathing is that. In fact, one of the others, Jupiter's name is Mantrika. And Mantrika is the ingoing and outgoing, mantra is the ingoing and outgoing breath that causes you to live. Okay? Jiva is also what you call your profession. So your profession in Sanskrit is called your jiva, your living. Because when you do what you're meant to do, you're living, right? We're meant to do something here, and that's our profession. And our profession can be a mother. That's a wonderful profession, Profession doesn't mean being president, okay? It means finding life in what you're doing. And the justice truth of it is you're doing your profession. You can't not do your profession. Even if your profession is sitting in jail, you know, reading National Geographics on your spare time, that may well be your profession. Find life in it, you know, and a just person will find life in it, right? Because when we feel justice, we live, you know, because life is right. When justice is reversed, life sucks, right? Okay, so Jupiter is living. And so this is the planet that keeps us alive through right action, which we had no control over half the time. See the angels up here? It's like all grace. It's right action through grace. And over here, justice. It's severe. You know, here we got this sword. Life is severe at times, but it's fair. It's always, always fair. And if you have a good Jupiter, your judgment and justice will come up right side up most of the time. In fact, when you start doing spreads for people, if you see a person where, you know, the emperor and the empress are coming up upside down all the time, you can put your money that their moon is trashing their horoscope. If you get a person who gets upside down Mercury's in their spread, or upside down Hierophant and High Priestess, you know their Mercury's messed up. So whatever, you can see which planets are good and weak just by casting their major arcana cards and seeing. In fact, you could even just do a fun spread. You take all the cards, you can take out, you can leave the star and the moon again, because those are the realms. So if the world comes up upside down, the person just has notions about the world that have nothing to do with the world. They're not living in the world properly, the way it's meant to be. If the star comes up, they're not even living in their inner life the way we're meant to. So you can put those in too. Put all the planets in there, put all these in there, shuffle them up, you know, let them shuffle them, mix them, topsy and turny them, and then lay out all the cards. Just lay them all out. And then the ones that are upside down, you can just say, oh, you have issues with this and this. These are your weak spots. Oh. And then you can even say, oh, yeah, you've got strength and temperance weak. Your Mars must really suck in your horoscope. And if you pull their chart up, it will. Okay? So you can just see so much about a person. And right away, if you're doing readings, astrology readings, and you know the person's chart, and you go, oh, yeah, they're Mercury's in Pisces with Saturn and the Sun and the Moon. Well, that means it's a really bad Mercury. Okay? And then, you know, you cast the card and the Hierophant comes up upside down, you go, oh, of course it's coming upside down. And now it's your job, you're the Hierophant, right? Which means they're not going to listen. Okay? Because they're not capable with that kind of Mercury. They're not going to laugh at your jokes, and they're not going to help you see, they're not going to understand their life in the context of what it really is. They're only going to understand their life in the context of their imaginations of what it should be or is, which are not real. Okay? In fact, a bad Mercury is one of the things that contributes to mental illness, because it causes a person to see life in a way that's not in the proper context of the whole life. If you don't see your life in the proper context of everything around you, that's insane, right? That's mental illness. That's part of mental illness. In fact, in astrology, we like to say that the moon and Mercury are trashed. That's indications of mental illness. And Mercury is a big player. I'll see so many people with trash moons, but if they have a good Mercury, you wouldn't qualify them as mentally ill. But when you get Mercury trashed too, because at that point, they don't see their lives in the proper context of the whole. And like, what's a mentally ill person? Like someone who goes around murdering chicks, you know? It's like, obviously, they don't see their life in the context of other people, right? They just see their life in the context of what their hands want to throttle, which is not a full context. But it happens, sadly. And of course, when the moon is bad, you go about managing your life in ways that just don't make sense. Like having a crazy king, right? He's managing the kingdom in a way that everyone's like, oh my God, you know. Or a crazy empress, you know. If your moon is bad, you're managing life in such a way that it's doomed to failure. And then if you see your life out of the context of the reality of your life, that's basically the astrological definition of mental illness. So you see these cards upside down, the Emperor and the Empress, Emperor and Empress. I should have put this on this side, but I didn't. And the Hierophant and the High Priestess coming up upside down for a personal lot. You could start thinking, you know, this person might be a little, you know, at least about this issue. You can just tell them, you're crazy when it comes to the issue. So let's just shake you, and get your reality check. Okay? And you can always say you're being crazy about this issue and people can handle that. You can't say you're crazy, crazy, crazy. But you can say, look, you're being crazy about this issue and shake them up. Some people respond really well to that. Like, you're right. I'm like totally wacko about this person. It's almost always a person, right? I'm like wacko about this person. All right, so that's Jupiter, number 5. Here is Venus, number 6. Venus represents virya, which is strength. Okay? And virya is your physical strength too. Okay? So athletes have a good Venus. They need that physical strength. You know? Venus is one of Lance Armstrong's stronger planets. Okay? Because he has all this strength. All good athletes have Venus, a good Venus. You're like, well, what does strength have to do with the number 6 and the lovers and the devil? Well, think about it. I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling in love, I can bench press like double. You know what I'm saying? Okay? Because that's what happens. When you're in love, you have all this energy, virya, that empowers you, right? Okay? I mean, who hasn't had the worst life where every day is like a burden, right? And the day you feel in love, you stand up straight and tall and your burdens don't feel like anything, right? So obviously, strength is given, love gives strength, right? Okay? Now the other time you have strength is when the devil's chasing you, right? Because you think you can run, but you don't know how fast you can run until the devil's chasing you. So when you're getting chased by a beast or a monster, because again, the devil's just some kind of beast or a scary beast, even if you've never ran a mile in your life, you're still going to do a 6-minute mile or faster. I don't care how out of shape you are, you will somehow do a sub 6-minute mile. Okay? You might have a heart attack at the end of the mile, but you will do it. So it's easy to see how what you love and what you fear give us strength. Strength to run or strength to achieve, right? More importantly, though, in astrology, well, Venus... Okay, Jupiter and Venus are the gurus. They're both considered Brahmins. Okay? Brahmins are the ones who give us advice. Jupiter gives us... Jupiter is the guru that blesses us, that keeps us alive. It's the force of God in the world that keeps us alive, basically. Venus, though, is the guru that teaches us about our choices. Okay? And what he teaches is basically that everything you do has a repercussion. And you just have to, whatever you do, you have to pay a price. And so when you choose this, you get this, but at the price of this. Right? And you see how we have the two most opposite cards here? I mean, look, these are similar. These are similar. They're all similar, right? I mean, they're like married. Strength and inner strength. These guys are like same, you know. Judgment and justice, death and a tower falling down. So like, most cards are so similar. But when you see these two, the devil and the lovers, you're like, wait a minute. It's like they're totally different. Because there are choices. And the biggest difference in our life, when we make a choice, we make a difference. Meaning we choose one thing and we always lose something else. In every choice we make. And every choice we make, we're moving towards what we love more. And also influencing that choice is getting away from what we hate in our lives, right? The devil. Every choice we make is a mix of, I want to get away from this, and I want this because I love it, right? Like say you want to get married, and you got 2 girls. Okay, one in Florida, one in New York. Okay? And you're like, okay, I got to choose one of these girls, Florida or New York. Okay. I love the Florida, but because of the beach, but I hate the humidity. Okay? And then I love New York City and all the cool arts there, but I hate cities. Okay? So you're making a decision based on that. And then you start thinking about the girls, right? You work that into the equation. I love these things about her and I hate these things about her, right? That's what you're thinking. You're not just thinking, I love the beach in Florida. I love this girl because she has a great sense of humor. And I love the job I can get there. You know? And then you go to New York and just write down your loves. You don't make the decision just based on that, right? You make the decision based on both what you love and hate about the city, the girl, the job you'll have in that town. And then you make a decision that's based on getting away from the devil and getting more of the love, right? So Venus is the planet of making decisions. Every decision you make costs you something. You have to pay. What you're paying is the devil, and that's what you're losing, what you're giving away, what you're getting away from. And the lovers is what you get. And the goal in life is about making decisions that give you more of the lovers and less of the devil in your life. And Venus knows that. Venus, every time he comes to the crossroad, he goes, well, what is more worthwhile for me? Is this a more worthwhile deal, or this a more worthwhile deal? What makes me feel more fulfilled? Because this is fulfillment, right? Which deal is more fulfilling? And Venus takes that one. And then he goes down that road, and then another crossings will come. And he'll say, which is more fulfilling? And he'll take that one. That's what a good Venus does. And every time it goes, this choice gives me more love and less devil, therefore I'm taking it. Now, unfortunately, lots of times when people work with their Venus, what they get is they come to a crossroads and they don't take either. Because I really want this, and I really don't want this. And in every crossroads, there's only some of what you really want, and there's always going to be some of what you don't want. It's a compromise, right? And Venus knows that. Venus rules vehicles. It's a journey, right? It's a journey through crossroads. It's a journey through choices. So, okay, this isn't the ideal job. So what are you going to do? Not work? Stay home, live with your parents until they're so old you have to, push them around in their wheelchairs? People make that choice all the time, right? Because it's not the job they want. But if they took that job is just a journey to the next job. Or they're like, well, I don't want that job. I either want this job or I just want to get married. Okay. Do you think your chances of getting married are better at home, pushing your granddaddy around in the wheelchair? Or is it better if you actually go to a job? It's better at the job, right? So good Venus knows I have to make the best choice of the choices in front of me. By making that best choice, it leads me to my next best choice and my next best choice. And eventually your life is totally fulfilled. Because every time you have a choice in life, you take one step away from the devil and one more step closer to the fulfillment of the lovers. And then your life gets fulfilled. But you'd be surprised how many people have a bad Venus, which means in their spreads, the lovers and the devil will come upside down, and they won't make choices to move forward because it's not what they want. Just that simple. It happens all the time. I see it all the time. It's like, I tell people this. It says, you're not going to get what you want, just get the one that's the most worthwhile. I tell them, both these deals suck. All right? We got that figured out. This sucks. Option A sucks. Option B sucks. But choose an option. The minute you choose that option, it's going to lead to better other options. These are the options that God has given to you. Remember I said 6 is the path, right? It's a journey. And the journey through Venus is a journey of options. To choose the option you love more and to move away from the options you hate more that cause you pain and misery and discomfort, that you're a beast. And through that, your life gets more fulfilled. It's just like, and that's the path. But people don't see life as a path. You have to see life as a journey. Venus rules vehicles. See Venus for vehicles? Isn't that cool? Look at your life as a journey. It's not about, oh, I'm going to have this, and I'm dreaming about this, and when it comes, I'll get it. Because between there and there is many turns and hills and ups and downs. And you have to go through every one of them to get here. If you just wait for that to come, it's never coming. It'll never, ever come until you take the trip, right? All right, but you'd be surprised. I mean, it seems from my reality, it seems like the whole world is driving on flat tires. The reason is because as an astrologer, that's where people are. If people would just pump the goddamn tires up, they wouldn't have to bother us. So I can't tell you how many times people come to my office simply because they will not take the best option along their journey. If they would just do that, they wouldn't have to come for a reading. Their lives would be going forward. It's like that easy. Pump your tires up, step on the one on the right. Take the one that's the path that looks safest and see what's around the corner over the horizon. And you'll find there's always something over the horizon, okay?
So can I ask a question? So for instance, if their devil card is upside down, perhaps that's indicating that fear of making that choice. Would that be
it can be.
It's the fear itself that stops them.
Yes, because then they're embracing the devil.
Right.
Right? Instead of running from it.
Right.
So if you're scared of something, How do you run away from that fear? By doing it. The only way to overcome fear is to run towards fear. I always tell myself, if like sometimes I get in a situation where something I'm not sure I want to do, if I'm scared, I go, well, the fact that you're scared means it's what you should do. Okay? So you have to, the way to escape fear is to embrace it. You can't run from fear. You know what I mean? So yes, an upside down devil will indicate fears that you let run your life, which means you're not leaving them. If a fear keeps you from making a choice, it means you're holding the devil tightly. When there's a fear, the way you run from it is by embracing the thing you're scared of, the devil's gone. And by that, we mean this kind of fear. We don't mean, walking down the road and finding a monster and hugging him, or being scared of getting ran by cars and jumping out in the middle of traffic. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, you have a question?
Does the devil card represent illusion, and the lovers maybe the reality in a way?
Not really. No, the devil can be real concrete things. Like it can be, like you can have the devil card come up and the guy gets a choice of moving to a city, a small town. He's grown up in LA and he's involved in gangs and he's on drugs. And now he has a chance to get away from the devil, right? The devil can be concrete things that hurt us.
I guess the illusion of the gross plane of reality, like Maya.
Well, any card when it's upside down causes you to deal with this illusionary reality that we live in inappropriately, meaning in ways that will certainly make us unhappy. So all these cards take part in that. So you can't say, oh, this one card is that.
Yeah.
When cards are right side up, we're playing the game of life, which means we're playing a pretend game in a way that we could win happiness, fulfillment, and enlightenment, okay? When cards are upside down, we're playing the fake game of disillusionment in ways that we're gonna lose, basically. And the more we think it's real, the more we tend to play it badly. It's one of those things. The more we realize it's a game, the better we do it. And of course, Mercury is the planet that rules games. And he's the security number, right? If you know that life is a game, you're ultimately secure, right? Unless you're like one of those people that when you play Monopoly and somebody, you land on Park Avenue with 10 houses and you start crying because they took all your money. Some people play Monopoly that way. But if you play Monopoly the way it's meant to, and you graciously lose your money and you have a good laugh over, oh my God, I can't believe I rolled a double one again. And I found it on that square. If you don't play with a sense of humor and fun, you're screwed, right? And so security comes when you have a sense of humor. You play by the rules, which is the Hierophant. You follow your intuition, your leads. I'm going to gamble big on this next square. I just got this feeling to put 10 houses on Park Avenue, right? Next player comes and lands right on it. So you follow your inner voice and then you play by the rules and then you're secure. And if you realize it's a game, you play it better. People, like you watch somebody play Monopoly who doesn't think it's a game, they think they're playing real money. And look how badly they play, right? It's the person that knows it's a game that's going to play best. Same with poker. The best poker players are playing a game. Sure, they're playing a game where they're betting millions of dollars, but the guy who's seeing it as the reality of his whole life is going to be emotionally involved, is going to make mistakes, do more dumb things, right? Same in life. Have a sense of humor, realize it's a game, and it's a game that can lead to a lot of fulfillment and friends and connections with people, if you play it well, okay? So you can say that, all the cards when upside down are causing you to step into the game in a way that's unhealthy for your happiness. Okay, so Venus is the path, and these are the two parts of the path. Like I said, number 6, more than any of your card, is a card of a path. It's a very path-centered card to fulfillment. Number 6 is always where you decide, okay, this is the path I'm going to take. I want a little more fulfillment in my life, and this is what I'm going to do to get it. A little more love, a little less of the pain. Okay? All right, now sadly in Tarot, the next card is number 7. So all roads end in despair. Okay, that's the sad truth. And that's because of the Tower. Things change, things break down. Nothing lasts forever, right? You can choose the path towards your greatest love. They're going to die one day. their physical body is going to get destroyed, right? Their tower will come tumbling down. You can build the best relationship, the best house, have the greatest kids. But you know, those kids are going to leave when they're 18, and the tower will come tumbling down. Okay? Now, so it depends. So you can have the best thing. You can get your car and restore the best car ever, because you love cars. You can restore it from the ground up. And what's going to happen to it? Something's going to break down, right? It's going to get hit by a flying, get paint chip, or something, right? Someone's going to scratch it with a key, or you might just total it. Everything you get along that path, when you get it, it's going to decay. It's just the fact of life. It's going to get old, dried up, scratched, broken, run slower. It's going to decay. That's just the reality of the world we live in. Luckily, we have the number 10, right? Which lets us recycle and go through and get more and more experiences, right? All right. And then the other thing that happens, we change inwardly. So say we make these choices to have something, right? And we have those things, and now our ego has enjoyed that thing. We no longer need it anymore. And so the ego dies. Death is the death of the ego. The ego thinks, I need this to be secure and happy, and it gets it. And what does it find? I'm not secure and happy. Right? And so that part of the ego dies. Yeah, I've had this fulfillment, I like this fulfillment, and I'll even keep this fulfillment. But it's not feeding my ego anymore. What's going to be next? And so no matter what journey you take to what love you get to, you can have the thing you most love and cherish, your ego need for that is going to change. And that thing is going to decay through the effects of time. And Saturn is time, right? Okay? So when you get to number 7, you get to the tower and death, you realize that whatever you get is going to die. Either your need for it dies, because you've experienced it, and that's what's supposed to happen. We're supposed to come here, have a need, have a desire, fulfill that desire, and upon the fulfillment of that desire, be at peace. Okay? And when that happens, the part of the ego that needed that dies. And it's going to happen with everything. Okay? And that's why this cycle is so important. Okay? So for like relationships, people think, I'm going to get married. They get married, and they have this great celebration. And then they're going to get to this. They're going to get to 7 every time. So what are they going to do? They're going to have to step through 8, step through 9, and then recycle. And get back into a new experience with each other, more love, struggling to secure that new love, going through all steps again. So it's all about recycling. So people look at life as a circle instead of a line. We have what happens because we look at our life as a line, and we get to a point on that line, we go, okay, this is where I've always been trying to get to, and I'm not happy. Okay? Well, you got to that point in the line, but that's limited happiness. You got to go around and recycle. So with that car, yes, in 20 years it's going to need a new paint job. So in 20 years you rebuild the damn thing again if you really love it, right? Okay, with that relationship, sure, she's going to break down and get wrinkly. Well, find something new to love about the girl, right? You know, if you love it, you'll find another reason to wheel it into your life on the next cycle. Okay? And, but yes, after you get that one experience with that car of ripping down the freeway at 150 miles per hour in your 1964 Mustang with the top down, 65, they didn't make it 64. After having that experience, sure, you'll enjoy it again, but you're going to need something else, right? But maybe there's something else you can do with that Mustang. Maybe just take out a nice picnic on a sunny day with a picnic basket in the back seat. You know, there's something else you can do with that Mustang. Same with the person. You have this vision to do something with the person, or with a job, or a career, or with a child. And once you've done that, it'll grow stale. And you need to recycle and find another thing to do with them. Because the ego is always in constant search of new experiences. You know, we want, it's the nature of the nature of the soul is everlasting, ever-changing joy, right? And ever new. We have what's called the Sanat Kumars, which are for the little four rishis that never grew up. They're just 6 years old even to this day. And they represent everlasting joy, ever new joy. Oh God, I can't remember them all right now because I'm so focused on the Turo, but you got the idea. Ever new. The nature of the soul is ever new joy. So in things in the world, unless they're ever new, we're going to get bored with them, right? Whatever it is, we'll get bored. Even studying astrology, why is it not get boring? Because there's always something new, okay? But it was just, if you were just doing the same thing with astrology every day, it would get boring, unless you're reading charts. That'd be a new person every day. But if you're reading the same person's chart every day with the same techniques over the same issue, it would get boring, right? When they bring a new issue in, it'd be fun again. We need ever new. And the ever new is a cycle. We get to the 10 and we get new. And we get to the 10 and we get new. So if we just look at our lives not as a linear line of getting somewhere, but of what it is of going around and around and around and recycling our lives, we'll be a lot happier. You know, it's an Eastern thing to see life as a circle. It's a Western thing to see life as a line. To be mentally healthy, you have to look at life as a circle. You can't do it as a line. You'll go wacko. Okay? All right. So at 7, Saturn, which is the planet of death, and the planet of time, which destroys all things, right, will eventually cause the tower to break down, that thing you've cherished and loved to have problems, to break down or to die and disappear. And of course, your ego needs will transform. You'll make inner changes. You'll have inner deaths of their needs and your emotional states. And so maybe what will happen is you'll have the experience, and that creates a healing. And now your need for that experience is no longer there. So now you need to find more, right? So this is where it dies. This is where you fulfill, and after fulfillment, there is death. And that's how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to manifest on earth with the desire, a strong desire, fulfill that desire, and in fulfilling that desire, be at peace and ready to move on and die. So if the tower comes up right side up and death comes up right side up, it shows the person has enough peace to let something change and die in their life. Whether it's an ego attachment, the death card, or some external thing. They fulfilled it, they're at peace with it, they're ready to move on. If they come up right side, wrong side up, then they're using those things as validations and not fulfillment. They haven't learned from them, they haven't grown from them. Those things have all been about validating. Because Saturn, at the bad end of the stick, Saturn is the planet that makes us want to be personally validated by the things in the world. Ha ha ha, right? Good luck with that. We live in a vicious world. The world is not about validating you. Look in nature. The world wants to eat your children and eat you if it can. It's not about validating you, right? Okay.
Over yourself.
But Saturn is the planet that makes us have an inner lack, and out of that inner lack, we seek validation by something else. I want a lot of money because I have no self-worth. I want a lot of power because I have no self-esteem. I want a lot of love and attention because inwardly I hate myself. You know what I mean? So we have these lacks that we compensate for, and Saturn is the planet that creates those and indicates those lacks. And as we achieve fulfillment, we overcome those lacks inwardly. The whole process is overcoming them. And in a healthy way, we've overcome that lack inwardly, so we're able to move past that ego need, and a part of the ego dies, which is a good thing. Okay? So if devil comes up right side up, we're ready to make that next transition, because our ego is ready to let go of an inner lack. But if the devil's upside, like say in a relationship, somebody says, I'm leaving, I decided I don't want to be married, and I'm going to run off to Nepal and climb mountains the rest of my life. If the devil comes up right side down, at that same point, the person who got dumped will realize, geez, I had this fulfilled, I had this happen, and I'm ready to move on too. If the devil's upside down, it's like, but that doesn't make me feel important. You know what I mean? Because they're still trying to compensate for their lacks with that person's attention. You know? Okay. So basically, Saturn causes us to try to fulfill our lacks through somebody or something validating us. The things that we seek to validate us are success, winning races, power, winning elections, leadership, money, and love. We want to be, or people. We want to be validated through those things because we have a lack, so we need that validation. If we didn't have a lack, we would feel the same if the whole world said they hated us as if they loved us. In fact, God's like that. So if you go to God, I love you, God. He's like, oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're thinking about me. Here, have some wisdom. If you say, God, you son of a bitch, I'm going to kick your fucking ass when I get up there. God's like, I'm glad you're thinking of me. Here's a blessing. Right? Because God is so fulfilled, He doesn't care whether you love or hate Him. All that matters to Him is that you acknowledge that He's around, because that helps you. In fact, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they talk about there's two paths to God, loving God or hating God. They both have the same effect. They both are just as fast. It's just loving God is funner. It's more fun to love God. It feels better. But it's just as effective. So your life sucks? Cuss out the man upstairs. It brings you closer to God. God wants you to be close to Him, because that's where you're happy. So if use hate works as good as love. Like if you hate a person, you're thinking about them all day long, right? When you love a person, you think about them all day long. Same difference. God just wants you to acknowledge the truth in that He's running the show. So whether you think about Him all day long through love or hate, it's fine. But same for a self-fulfilled person. If a self-fulfilled person, if everyone hates them, they're like, oh, wow, great, everyone's thinking about me. If everyone loves them, like, oh, great, everyone's still thinking about me. Except now that everyone loves me, I have less time to do the things I love. So sometimes you're going to take hate over love. Okay.
So can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
So when they're reversed, you are looking at those external things that
as
are dying
validation.
As validation for why your life is messed up. Is
exactly.
That what you mean?
Why you're miserable.
So I'm miserable because the house burned down.
Exactly.
Or whatever it is. Or because...
I'm miserable because you dumped me.
You dumped me. So
I'm not miserable because I'm miserable.
There you go.
Okay.
So validating why things are going wrong in your life.
Yeah. Whether we're getting validated by that thing or not. Shouldn't matter, right? It shouldn't matter, right? It matters when we have inner lives. That's why it matters. It does matter, right? It really matters. We all suffer this. But as we go through our cycles, every time we suffer a little less, and a little less, and a little less, and like a micron less. It's like one sanding of superfine sandpaper, and then another superfine sanding. So it takes a couple million sandings, and that's why we have to live 1,000,000 years as humans before we're enlightened. Okay? No big deal. So the death card, when it comes right side up, when there's something lost, something dies, we realize that we're ready to move on. We don't have the need for that thing anymore. We might still want it, and we love it, and we enjoy it, but we don't have that clinging, I need it, or else I'm miserable feeling, which is always a lie. We don't need anything to be happy except ourselves. Okay? If death comes right side up, we realize, oh, I'm able to be at peace with this transition. It hurts, like death hurts. I'm sad over it, but I'm not suicidal over it. I'm not murderous over it. I'm not vindictive over it. When people get that way over things lost in their life, that's the death card reversed. That's they can't get over it because they have such a need for validation that they can't get over it. Because it's not about even what they need. It's about something and somebody saying, you're the most important, best, most wonderful thing that was ever born in this world. Basically, they want to hear a lie. Right? Because none of us are the best, most important, most wonderful. Even Jesus isn't, right? Jesus has so much competition. Okay? We're all just people. We're all just people going down the road, going through our cycles as best as we can. And to want to be raised above that, we only do that at a lack. Right? If we have a lack, we need to be raised up. And at this point, at the 7, and we struggle towards that. Venus is all about fulfillment, right? Overcoming that lack, making the choices that make us feel validated and loved. That's what Venus is for. Okay, Venus is a social planet of being loved and validated, self-worth, and it's a worldly planet. So it's doing the things in the world, making the choices that make us feel more validated. We're supposed to do that. We're not supposed to be super austere. But this is part of the process. And so when we make healthy choices, we get validated. We make the choice to get the job, and we have a great career, and we get validated in our career, for instance. Or we make the choice to be with a certain person, and that person validates us, and we feel happy. But after that, that's it. After that validation, the ego should be able to go, oh, I've had that, and I'm at peace now. You know what I mean? I've experienced that. The fulfillment was there, and it was given to me, and now having that, I can move past it. Because we're supposed to move past desires. For instance, like relationships. When people are 14, they're falling in love because they're horny, right? And they get married because they're horny. Well, good. Go have lots of sex and get married and have sex every day on a mountaintop. But eventually, that need is going to be fulfilled. It should be. And you say, oh, I've had that. I fulfilled in that. Now I'm ready for a new cycle. What else can I enjoy with a person, right? And then you enjoy that with the person, and you enjoy a nothing thing. So there's all these levels of fulfillment possible with everything we have. Okay? And we see that in our lives as we change, we go young. Like when you're young, all you care about is a fast car. You're 16, you're like, I just want a fast car. My first car was like this car that was totally rusted out. I remember driving it down the road 1 mile, I'm like, I'm buying this car for $500. It was a great car. It was so fun. It was ugly. I don't even own a car that ugly anymore. Now I want a car with like nice lines, like elegant, not too sporty, sort of neat, you know? So you fulfill that need for speed, and then you want maybe some more grace in your life. It shifts according to your lacks, right? But once you achieve something, once you find the fulfillment, which is love and validating to you, it is validating to have a really pretty car that when you stop at the gas station, everyone goes, where'd you get that car? I was like, oh yeah, people are talking to me. But you know, do you really need and want that every time you fill up for gas? No, because it's going to get you late to everything else in your life that you want to do. It's like that with everything else. We need to get the validation. And once we experience the validation, it's natural to let go at number 7 because the lack has been fulfilled, and now we move on to the next lack. The devil upside down, the death upside down is not being able to transition onto the next lack. You understand? Because of not being able to appreciate the fulfillment that they've achieved. Okay, I've had this, great. Now why do I still need to be validated? That's what upside death is. Oh, I've had all this, and I'm still staying here. I still only want this. I'm still stuck in needing this. I'm still needing to compensate so much, even after having the experience. That's not how it's meant to be. Unfortunately, that's how most of us are. In the Holy Science, Sri Yukteswar says, we're born with desires. We're meant to fulfill those desires. Upon their fulfillment, our soul feels peace and moves on and gets out of it and doesn't come back. But he goes, what happens instead? People are running around in too many directions, never finding full fulfillment in anything. And so when they leave, they have so many desires they need to fulfill, and they need to come back, because they never get that peace. So in life, you have to focus on what you love, and find the fulfillment in that thing, and then you'll find a peace that allows you to be willing to die, that not have fear of death. People have a fear of death, which means transitions, either their death or other transitions in their life, because they haven't ever put themselves in the mental state to fully experience something. So they're in love, but back in their mind they're like, no one will ever love me. And so they're not really feeling and getting the validation at that moment. If they could have just got that validation for like 2 days, they're like, and then the person dies the next day, they're like, you know, it's great I had that. That made a difference in my life. I'm ready for my next cycle now. Instead of going, oh, I fell in love for 2 days, and he died, and I'm never going to see him again. I'm going to lock myself in the house and wear black and just start collecting black cats. People do that because they didn't have the presence, meaning the mental health, to enjoy the wonderful thing for 1 minute that was in front of them. The soul only needs it for a second. Time is, the ego has time. The soul doesn't have time. In fact, the moon does not measure time. The female side of our psyche, which is the part that wants to emotionally get fulfilled, is not aware of time. That's why people in the feminine side of their brain very much are always late, always get to bed at any day, because they don't have any concept of time. Whereas other people, like strong suns, like exalted sun me, I'm like just religious with times. Like, as I'm getting older, I'm getting more sloppy finally. But like as a kid, I was like, I'm always on time, watches, time. You know, just really methodical with time. It's a masculine quality time. But this inner side fulfillment has no meaning of time. Meaning, if you really can feel loved for 1 second, that's all your female side needs. But if you need to feel loved every second of your life, it's because you don't have it. You understand? Because if you have it once, you should fulfill you to the next level. Because time has no meaning when it comes to the female half of your psyche. Okay? So, if the death card's upside down, something is transitioning, something is changing, there's a letting go, but you can't handle it because you haven't found fulfillment. Because Saturn, your psychology, has so much lack. Even when the love was there in your lap, or you were on its lap, whatever, it didn't make the difference in your life that it could have if you brought enough fulfillment to the table. Because Saturn's our lacks that we project onto the world. Okay? And then we're projecting our lack onto that object that dies and kicking and screaming and not happy that it dies. And getting vindictive, jealous, angry, instead of just letting a natural transition to happen, right? So the Tower is not as complex, nice, simple masculine signs. Okay, the Tower is simply, the external things are always, the shape and form of things is always going to change. You could get married because your husband can bench press 250, no, that's not much, 500 pounds, is cut like Atlas, right? Well, he's going to get a little bit here by the time he's 40. He's going to be a little shorter when he's 60. He's going to get more wrinkles. So, he's going to change. He's not going to be what you fell in love with. And that's what the Tower is. Physically, things change due to time, which is Saturn. It wears things. So, if your need is there just for that physical thing, you won't be happy with the change. So the Tower upside down is being so attached to the physical that you're not able to allow things to change. Okay? So you're so attached to the physical presence of a person that when their butt starts sagging, you can't love them anymore. That's an upside down Tower. I expected your butt to sag. It's finally happening. And that means we've been together for 50 years. This is good news to me. That's what the right side up Tower says, right? Okay? Because it's not so attached to that physical manifestation of something. And also, let's take it real literally. You grow up in this house, and you love being in this house. You find so much security and fulfillment in your house. Well, one day, your house gets burnt down. So what are you going to do? Never find happiness, fulfillment in another house? Well, a good Tower says, well, God got rid of that house. I guess he wants me to have another house. I'll just go find another house and have a great life there. An upside down Tower says, my whole life is about that house. I'll never be happy in another house. And I'm going to buy a house because I have to, but I'm going to be grumpy inside it for the next 50 years. Right? People do that. So it's in our lives too. Say we have something that's the big part of our life. It's the love of our life. Not necessarily a person, it's the love of our life. Well, when that love dies or changes, when the external reality is no longer there, what are we going to do? Never go move into another house? So when you get divorced, your marriage breaks down, Tower comes crashing down. An upside down Tower is like, well, geez, in that case, I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have love. I'm never going to have a new job. You get fired at one job, and you're like, oh, I'm never going to apply for a job and go live on the streets. People do that. That's an upside down Tower. Right side down Tower is, yeah, this thing has broken down. I got fired from my job. My wife left me. My car exploded. My kids are moving out. Whatever. Well, now I have time to do another great thing. Now I have time to meet another great person. Now I have time to restore another car. Now I have time for a new house, a new job. This is an opportunity for another adventure, if you look at it healthily. When your house burns down, what do? You go and build a new house. And isn't building the new house the best part of owning a house? You know what I mean, sort of? It's in the construction and the building and the progress that it's fun. Even in relationships, the best time in relationships is the engagement, right? Because you're actively working and on projects and focusing on something together. And then you get secure, and then you kind of tumble down, and eventually you're stuck here with the fact that your relationship, you've had a fulfillment from it, but you're not enlightened, and that person is changing, and your life and your relationship is breaking down. And it will. Every relationship will break down. So, are you going to pine that, or are you going to say, okay, what's the new shape of my relationship? Imagine people have been married for 50, 60 years. Or people have had the same job for 50, 60 years. How many times they've hit this? I can tell you just in my profession how many times I've hit the Tower. Just with eye numbshes alone. Okay? And I could talk for hours about just in my work of hitting that tower. And I remember in times thinking, thinking, gosh, if it's not going to be this way, I'm quitting. Like upside down time. I'm done. I'm just going to go sell things on eBay to feed my kids. So, but we get to this tower, yeah, things are going to change. They're not going to give everything to you, basically. And Saturn knows that. Realize that it's not meant to give me everything. I'll get what I can get from living out of that house for as long as it works. And when it no longer works, I'll just move into another house. Every animal does that, right? But humans don't. I mean, even animals, when they lose their mate, what do they worry about? When a chicken, loses his rooster, she's totally ready for the next rooster. Okay? But if we are so full of lacks and doubts and insecurities, we don't get over the death. And we use that transition, that death, as an excuse to validate the reasons we don't deserve it, basically. Okay? We use those things. It just proves that my husband died. It just proves I was never meant to have love. What about the times your husband actually was nice to you? That 1 second in 40 years. So you had love. Time is meaningless to the female side, right? Find fulfillment in that and move on and have a great life. You know what I mean? I know that's an extreme example, but I'm just trying to really point it out because that's how life is. It's a cycle of getting fulfillment and falling into despair with that thing, and working on it and getting some more fulfillment, and then falling into despair. That's how it is. Well, look at the cards; they don't lie. We want it to be: I'm going to go here and do everything right, and I'm going to be in love. I'm going to have my fulfillment. End of story. But that is fulfillment, and then you die. Because the part of you that needed that dies. And after it dies, you have to find ways to achieve greater fulfillment. And greater fulfillment. And dying can take some time. Sometimes you can just get shot through the heart. Other times you get your wrist cut and you bleed out. And it takes a couple years. So sometimes it takes the ego a long time to get to the point of you preparing for greater fulfillment. Meaning, because when you die, it means you're heading for greater fulfillment, right? That's what death is. It's a new opportunity for greater fulfillment. And sometimes you're just really ready to make that transition overnight. Other days, you have to lot to process. It just depends on everything. So that's Saturn's connection to these two destructive cars. And of course, astrology, Saturn is death. Saturn's cold. He's all way up there alone, farthest reaches of the galaxy pretty much, okay? Now, after Saturn, we get number 8 and 9, which are Rahu and Ketu, the nodes of the moon. Those two planets represent the balance we need to achieve within our consciousness, basically. Okay? They represent the path our conscious has to take to achieve greater fulfillment. So, Rahu represents the new things we have to dive into. Okay, the new actions, the new means, the new ways, the new things that we have to involve ourselves in to achieve that balance. And Ketu represents the fulfillment that comes from achieving that balance. Okay? So Rahu does that through the Chariot and the Hanged Man. So through the Chariot, that means marching forward into the next great thing. So these cards, the Hanged Man and Chariot, are always about new things. The Chariot is about new successes that you actively pursue. The Hanged Man is about new things that come because you're waiting for them. Okay? So, Hanged Man is passive activity. There's no such thing as inaction. Right? Sitting down and doing nothing is waiting for an opportunity. And that's what the Hanged Man is doing. He's waiting for the new thing. The Chariot is achieving the new thing. Is moving towards it, basically. Marching towards it or rolling towards it. But the Hanged Man is waiting for it, like a boa constrictor. He sits on the tree, waiting for his next meal. Doesn't go anywhere, right? Compare that to a rat snake. A rat snake goes all around the barns, your house, your trees, looking for something to eat. At the end of the day, they're both fat. In fact, boa constrictors are a lot fatter. Okay? So something to be said about the fulfillment that can come from this. Now, number 8, Rahu, is a planet that causes us to do all these things, but only gives success. Because again, this is the Chariot of victory, of triumph, right? So number 8 is a high point of success. In astrology, Rahu gives success because we've worked it out inwardly. Okay, Rahu is But basically achieving Rahu is to conquer all of our demons, to work things out inwardly so we can experience success outwardly. And we always have a lot of problems in our horoscope where Rahu's at. Because that's where Rahu is where all of our imbalances are coming to a focal point to show us this is the part of your life that sucks the most. Because all your imbalances are focalizing on this part of your life, and that's why it sucks. So where Rahu is in the chart is where we see all of our imbalances. That's where we're shown all of our weaknesses, all of our lacks, all of our stupid actions. And we'll attract things into our life that show us those things. Okay? And once we've realized that those are our lacks and our imbalances, then we can proceed to be fulfilled in them. The tricky thing about Rahu, though, is until we learn to master Rahu, because Rahu's, all the planets are present while we're struggling on these other levels, is that until we get to the number 8, we always blame the Rahu. Because Rahu is always an external manifestation that reflects to us our weaknesses and inadequacies and lacks. Okay? So when a person achieves the number 8, which means they get the chariot of victory, they achieve that because they realize that everything in their life is because of them and who they are. And it's no longer blaming it on that thing. When Rahu's immature, when we're trying to struggle with Rahu on these other lower numbered numbers, then we blame things on Rahu causing us trouble. And that's why astrology, oh, Rahu messes your life up the most. But that's just because Rahu's showing you where you're the most messed up. And since you're the most messed up, your life is the most messed up. So the solution of Rahu, and what happens at number 8, is a person realizes that their reality, their victories, chariot of victory, the things they've done, is a result of their actions and their choices and their decisions and who they are. It's not due to those other things, being nice to them, good luck, or bad luck. An immature Rahu blames it on good luck, bad things, and demons and imps. Rahu represents like imps and demons and stuff. No, a good Rahu realizes that everything is just a reflection of our own reality. And Rahu's a node of the moon. Rahu and Ketu are both strongly connected to the moon, actually. Rahu especially is more lunar, whereas Ketu is more solar. Because they're both created by, again, the intersection of the moon around the Earth with the intersection of the sun, or moon around the Earth with the intersection of the sun around the Earth, right? So they're both sun-moon things. They're the two intersection points. And when you get two circles and you intersect them, there's always 2 points of intersection. That's why we have 2 of them. So, Rahu's the planet. We master Rahu when we realize that our life is the way it is because of our own making. Not because of the demons out there, but because of the demons inward. And our successes at the chariot are due to us mastering our demons, basically. So, the chariot of success, we have that success because we've mastered our weaknesses. We've grown. And we've had that fulfillment. Now the hanged man realizes that everything is a manifestation of our inner life. That everything in our life is an omen to show us what we're really feeling about ourselves. So realizing that, the hanged man goes, well, geez, what that means is I don't have to do anything. If everything in my life is a reflection and manifestation of how I feel about myself, there's no need to do anything. I'm going to get everything in accordance with how I feel about myself. So I can just sit here and hang upside down. And if I feel love about myself, Mr. Right's going to come driving by. And he just will, because I love myself. But if I don't love myself, I can go to every bar tonight and not find Mr. Right. Okay? So that's the hanged man, realizing that everything is a reflection of our inner life. And as a result, there's no need for anything. When you realize that, there's no need to do anything at all. And then the chariot of victory is realizing that the victories we have are the result of who we are. Who we are in this world. Because the sun, this is a sun card, it's who we are in the world, right? Everything we have, and all of our victories, and therefore all our defeats, which is the other side of the coin, right, are the result of who we are. And it's Rahu that creates that inner balance where you realize that your outer life is a reflection of your inner life, of who you are. Okay? And that there's no differences, and everything in this world is an omen to show us who we are. Like the very fact that there's 5 people here today means something omen-wise to my life. I would just have to sit around and try to figure out what it is. When, you know, when you leave the house, the first thing you see when you leave my house, that's an omen for the next part of your day. And that means an omen about the state you're in right here, right now. And so we never need to go anywhere, but things happen and we achieve successes because of who we are. We have the successes and the failures in our lives because of who we are. And when we realize that, we master the 8. That's when we master Rahu. These are all points of using the planets in a healthy way. Using Rahu in a healthy way means we realize that everything's a reflection of our inner life, and a good inner life means a good life. So if we work on that, our life works. And that the successes we have are based on who we are and nothing to be blamed. That the whole world is just a macrocosm of us. Okay? And that's what number 8 teaches us, where the outer reality reflects the people, the full person we are, which means the person we are as we feel about ourselves, and the person we are with our skills and work ethics. That's what number 8 teaches us when we master it. So if you see the chariot right side up, the person achieves something because of just who they are in this world. They're just naturally going to achieve it. There's no way they couldn't. When the chariot comes upside down, the person's pouting about not achieving things or upset with what they've achieved and blaming it on the demons, on bad luck, on fate, on so-and-so, instead of being responsible for it and realizing my life sucks because I suck. Okay? Because I lived it in a sucky way. If your life sucks, you lived it in a sucky way. It's that simple. And if your life is good, it's because you lived it in a good way. And that's what, instead of blaming it on the demons, that's what but the chariot upside down will think, oh, I would have won the bike race, but someone was faster. That's the definition of a race. Okay? She loved me, but she married that other guy instead. Well, maybe because she loved him more because he did a better job of what she needed. You know what I mean? So we have our success and victories because of the actions we did or didn't take. It's just that simple, and there's no point in blaming it. Upside down chariot is proud of its actions that it did that led to success, and it doesn't let its failures bother it because it realized I chose that failure because I wanted this instead. And that's so much of what it is. It's about these choices, number 6, in that we have the successes and failures we have because of our choices we make. I choose to relax a little, 2 more hours today. So in 10 years, I don't have $1 million. So you give up $1 million of prosperity for 2 hours of, KIT reruns. That was your choice. That you chose that. No one's to blame for it but you. So the chariot realizes that. So it's at peace with its failures. Yeah, I had a dream to do this at one time, but I never achieved it because it wasn't really worth it to me. And that's what it comes down to. Was it really worth it? And so upside down chariot is like the cake and eat it too. I want to be lazy and I want $1 million. I want to be an asshole and I want somebody to love me. Okay, that's the upside down chariot. It doesn't work that way. And the hangman, again, is just realizing that everything's a reflection of ourselves. If I want true love, I have to truly love myself. So instead of going around loving people truly, I'm going to love myself truly and just watch it happen. Okay? That's what the hangman realizes. And these two, of course, as always, they work together. And they seem like very different cards again, just like the Venus card did. In astrology, we have a period called Rahu Venus and Venus Rahu. Those are the periods of biggest change and havoc in your life usually. And it totally makes sense when you see that these cards are the cards that are the most different, aren't they? This is where all these extremely dynamically different forces, which are so saying, come together to really change your life. So Rahu's your successes, and due to your actions is the chariot. Hangman is what you get because of inaction, because of what you attract, because of where you are with yourself. And those create really our reality. And when we realize that at number 8, we're able to have fulfillment with everything. Because then when a person says something mean, it only hurts us if we think the same thing about ourselves, right? you know? And so we realize that our life is a reflection of who we are, and then we can be, like we talked about, this key word is friendly with everything. But it's Rahu that does it astronomically. So this is not Rahu in its bad, immature sense. This is Rahu successful, unless these cards are upside down. Oh yeah, if the hangman is upside down, meaning he's standing on his feet, then he represents a person very unsettled in themselves, who constantly feels they have to do everything for anything to happen. Okay, or that somebody always has to do something for them to make something happen. But there's an overemphasis on improper activity. Okay, I want to be loved, so I'm going to run around in a short skirt looking for love. It doesn't work that way, right? If you want to be loved, love yourself and watch that reflection happen in your life. So when the hangman is right, standing on his feet when he's upside down, it basically means the person, instead of being who they are, is running into trying to make their life something that they're just never going to get because they're not that thing. Okay? And it's very similar to the devil. It means, in a sense, they're not acknowledging who they really are. They're running away from themselves instead of being with themselves. Okay? Just like the lovers and chariot are very related. You can say the chariot is always going after what it's loved, but it's really not. But you could make that story happen. And you can say, the hanged man causes you or the devil causes so much fear you become paralyzed. But it's not really that relationship. But there is a relationship between the 6 and 8. What the real relationship is simply that you realize that because of what you loved, you have your successes. I love TV or money more. Well, if you had more TV time than millions of dollars, you'd love TV more than money, right? End of story. So the chariot realizes his successes are based on what he loved, what choices he made because he loved this more than this more. Like an athlete, he loved suffering on his bike for 8 hours a day more than he loved laying around eating good food. He loved them both, but which one did he love more? That's what made him a great bike racer. That's what the 8 realizes. He realizes because I love this more than that I have what I love. Okay? It's just lots of times what we love doesn't help our life get better. And then when we get to the 8, we get upset at that when the chariot's upside down. Chariot upside down simply means we love things that weren't good for us. They didn't get us any victory. They didn't give us any achievement. Okay? And the hanged man, when he's right side up, one of the other things he'll do, he'll constantly move away from things that are good from him. Good things come and he walks away because now he's walking, right? He's not hung anymore. He's mobile when he's on his feet. So good things can come, but those good things make them have to deal with who they are, and so they leave. So the hangman right side up, the hangman with feet on the ground, so confusing.
There we go.
Is the guy who something comes, and even though it's a reflection of what they want and need, they will oftentimes run away from it instead of being with it. Because being with it means they have to confront their own fears, which means the parts of themselves they don't like. Okay? So again, there is this relationship. So the reverse hanged man realizes that their life sucks because they've been running from the devil. Or they don't realize it, but their life does suck because they've been running from the devil. That's the way I want to say it. Since they haven't been staying away from what's bad from them and just being with themselves, which is hard, they've been running from themselves because they've made themselves the devil. Their own fears, their own pain. Instead of settling with that and working through it, they've always ran to the devil, to addictions, to drugs. And so the hangman non-reverse person has always ran away from themselves. So what they have is a scattered fragmentation of who they are. And it's it's a difficult card when it's up. Both these cards are really disappointing when they're upside down because this is the card of highest fulfillment. The chariot of victory and the hanged man, perfect peace with how life is. Those are the two cards of greatest success and victory that we can have in this world. When they're right side up, or upside down then we're the most disappointed in how our life turned out. Because we've either been embracing the devil instead of running from it, always choosing the bad parts of ourselves, and meaning letting the bad things that come into life in over the good parts of ourselves and letting the good things come in. And so then we're most miserable. So this is the point of greatest success when they're right side up, but the two most disappointing cards when they're upside down. Because Rahu in our chart is the planet that makes or breaks us. If we can find balance where Rahu is in our chart, we're going to feel like our life was a success. And lots of times where Rahu is has nothing to do with your career and all this stuff that we look at to success. Success in our life is marked by how much we're able to manage this Rahu in our lives. If we manage Rahu, we'll feel my life was success. Because we were born for Rahu. That's what we're born for, literally. We're born to master Rahu. And in astrology, we say Rahu, Venus, and Venus, Rahu periods make or break a person. Like I said, your success is made or broke by Rahu. And they're so connected. You have the victories and successes because of what you love, which is Venus. You have the peace to be with yourself and let life happen naturally because you have stayed away from the devil instead of embracing the devil and getting into addictions. Because the devil at his worst forms are the things that take us away from ourselves and embracing those things. So if you have an upside down lovers and an upside down devil, you get an upside down hangman and an upside down chariot. They're very much work together. And right in the middle of that is Saturn, your need for constant change. And your need to the fact that life sucks and shifts and nothing's permanent and you have to find happiness anyway. You do that at the 8. By realizing your life is how you made it and realizing life is who you are. And then you find success and peace with it. And that's as good as life gets. Number 8 is as good as life gets down here. So if you haven't mastered your Rahu, your life is going to suck. No matter what else you have in your life. Okay? After that, we get into Ketu. Ketu is the planet of liberation. So at number 9, we've gone beyond the success the world can give you. And we try to embrace a success beyond the world. And that's the hermit contemplating his nature till he has liberation. And the fool who is so connected to everything that he loses all sense of concepts and everything is. Ketu is the planet, both of those are both liberated states. The hermit is a liberated person who's so focused on contemplating God in a way that they realize everything is God. But they realize everything is God is different things. So they can still function and give wisdom and advice. The fool, on the other hand, he just opens up to this vastness of perceiving everything as God to the point he becomes a dysfunctional being. Because he has no sense of separation, no sense of concept, no sense of this is orange, this is hard, this is soft. All that has melted away by the fool. And those are both Ketu states, meaning the highest spiritual states. Ketu is the significator of spiritual liberation. And it's really interesting. Yogananda used to say, you have to experience divine friendship before you can have liberation. And remember the key word for 9 is divine friendship. Isn't that interesting? So friendship comes when you realize that everything is a manifestation of yourself. And then you've got no one to blame. Then you can be friends with everybody, like we talked about in the last lecture extensively. Then divine friendship is being actually to see all those things as God, right? Be able to see that person who sometimes makes you happy and sometimes makes you miserable as God. And realizing that they make you happy and miserable in accordance with who you are. Right? Accordance of number 8. That everything's about you, therefore everything can be your friend. And then realizing that all those things that are your friend and you are actually just God. And you do that through meditating concentratedly until you get that insight. Or just your consciousness just blows out of reality through the fool. And then you are totally dysfunctional. Like Ananda Morima had to be fed because she was so out of it. Okay? So these are the two spiritual states that ultimately happen through Ketu, the significator of liberation. Which really, this is Rahu's friendship. It's being at balance with everything. That's what friends are. They're in balance and harmony, right? When you realize your life is in harmony with your choices and actions and how you feel about yourself, then you're friends with everything. And then when you take that to the next level and you realize it's all God, then you're at the number 9. Okay? Now, practically speaking, what does all this mean? Okay. Well, practically speaking, the hermit is the one that, based on his successes, has the wisdom and insight to find a better path, to find a higher fulfillment. So he's the person who can give you the most specialized advice, because he's already been through it. At that point, he's not the hermit meditating. He's the eccentric retiree who is the best person in his field. And now you get some of that information. Okay, and that helps you, prepares you for the next cycle. And the fool is, again, being in the right place at the right time for an accident, to make a mistake or do something foolish, but it turns out to be the next great breakthrough, which happens in science all the time, right? Happens in medicine all the time. We stumble across these mistakes. So practically speaking, the fool is just, number 9, again, divine means connection. That's what divine is. It's to connect. What is it that connects us? It's love, right? That's the feeling of connectivity. But also hate connects us, which is the opposite of love, and therefore the same thing. It's just our ego finds more joy in love than hate, but they're exactly the same thing. They're an intense emotional response to something that makes us connect to that thing and see that thing as a real force in this world, as something important in this world. So if we hate someone and we want to kill them, well, we think they're so important that we have to get rid of them or they'll do something bad. That's like really validating that person, isn't it? And love, we love them so much that we have to be by them. That's very validating to them too. So, but 9 is all about getting connected more, because the divine is connectivity. And we can connect to things through foolish actions. We do something foolish and ends up, here we are, more connected. And it just works. Like, you do something foolish, you go out and get drunk, you wake up next to a girl, and you realize, God, this is the love of my life, and you have a great marriage, you never need to get drunk again. It can happen, Usually things don't happen in foolish ways, but sometimes they do. Happens more often in science and medicine, where they just do a mistake and boom, they develop some new cool thing. But the hermit is connecting through concentrating on something. Okay, through contemplating, not just through sheer accident. So that's connecting to something, because we're taking all of our vast research, all of our experience, and really concentrating. So say you're doing horoscope readings, and you're reading charts all day long, or doing card readings all day long. All you do is readings. And you have so much success with it, and you're just chariot of victory, #1 reader in the United States, Psychic Magazine gives you 2 thumbs up and all that stuff. And you're just flying. And then finally you hit 65, and you get to retire. And all those distractions, all those people, all those phone calls, all those Psychic Magazine interviews are gone, right? And now you just focus, and you just, all that you did, all your successes, your chariot of victories, get focalized into your consciousness, and you start putting together all these connections about everything you did. And you make all these connections about your readings and your astrology that take you to the next highest level of perfection, right? So the hermit is taking the time away from all the busy successes to connect to them on a deeper level, lets us expand into greater successes. Okay? Or sometimes we can just, we just do so much stuff that accidents happen, foolish things happen, things that go wrong that lead us to the next great connection. So connections can happen by mistakes, or through, which is the fool, by things that don't make sense, or by concentrating on something which does make sense. And then we somehow connect to something on a deeper level. Ultimately, that's the divine, but it's whatever it is on the level of the reading you're doing. So if the reading's about relationships and the fool comes up, you're going to say you're going to do something that makes absolutely no sense, but it's going to help you connect to the person on a deeper level. If it's a hermit that comes up, he says you're going to come to understand something about how you work in relationships and make a connection that's going to help you connect to this person better. So it's just making a deeper connection at number 9, practically speaking. Okay, we don't have a planet or anything for number 10. Number 10, what we have is the ecliptic, which is the circle, the Wheel of Fortune, right? So the ecliptic is the path that all the planets travel around as they travel around the Earth, from our point of view again. And that is the Wheel of Fortune. That's where we get all of our skills that the magician can use to take us to the next level. Once all your planets have gone all the way around, you're more capable, you're more skilled, you can do more magic. You can do things better because you have that experience and you can take it to the next level with the magician. And of course, the Wheel of Fortune changes. It's a time of change. And that's an astronomical factor. Now, why do we put that after Rahu and Ketu? The reason is because Rahu and Ketu are the points where eclipses occur. Eclipses come from the word ecliptic. You can't see the ecliptic. Planets travel along the ecliptic plus or minus 9 degrees. So it's not like you see this line in the sky. The only time you visibly see the exact point of the ecliptic is when there's an eclipse. When the sun and moon is right on the eclipse together, then we actually see it exactly. And astrology is all about what we see up there. So we can't see the ecliptic, which means we can't take the next cycle of fulfillment. You can't step onto that next Wheel of Fortune until we've mastered Rahu and Ketu, right? Until we've gotten the realization that life is the way it is because of what we made it. Until then, we won't take the time to concentrate on how to take it to the next level, to get that extra connection. And once we get that extra connection at number 9 in Ketu, then we naturally move on to the next level. But we can't move on to the next level until we make a new connection, right? And we can't make a new connection until we realize it's all about us. Because what's connecting to what? We're connecting to something greater, right? If it's not all about us, we're not in the equation anymore. If we realize our experiences in life is all about us, now we're ready to make the next great connection. You know what I mean? But how can we connect if life is an out-of-control thing where all the demons are responsible? There's no room for us in that life, right? And then we're miserable because there's no room in it. And number 8, when we're realizing our life is this based on the success we made due to our choices to pursue what we love, you know, that means being a couch potato, and that we don't have to do anything, all things come because of how we feel about ourselves. When we realize that's how our life is, we can find the next natural thing to connect to. Meaning, I want to connect more to the thing I love the most. So the hermit's going to contemplate and focus on that, right? And the hangman is like, I want to be at full peace from the demons. So don't even run anymore. It's like, you don't even scare me anymore, right? There is no devil. The devil is an illusion too, because there's only how I feel about myself. And that thing I thought the devil was just me feeling bad about myself. And so if I realize that, I don't even have to run from the devil anymore. And now the person's ready to connect to something on a much deeper level. And that's when foolish things can happen. Like even the idea, by doing nothing, more can happen. It's like, bullshit. That'll never happen. That's a foolish idea, but it does. The idea of saying by not running around pursuing your needs, by just being, you'll have more glorious happiness than you can have, just like a fool who's totally happy and blissed out. All it takes is not pursuing anymore, not running from the devil and not running towards the lovers. Just being, and it comes. A fool upside down, though, he will miss that happiness because, again, he's involved in literally foolish things. You look at the person, you're doing dumb things, and they're not foolish things that lead anywhere. They're just dumb things because they don't want to settle with themselves. Because these cards are related, 8 and 9s. You can't separate Rahu and Ketu. They're actually the same thing. In the sky, they're actually always opposite each other. They're not like other planets where they come and get closer and further apart. They're always 180 degrees apart. They're the same, they're like different ends of the same animal. And in mythology, it's a demon that got cut in half by the ecliptic. So there's a head and a tail, but it's the same thing, same creature. So once you master 8 and connect to 9, not master, but you do a little more 8, and then you connect a little more at the 9, then you're ready for the next cycle. And when you're ready for the next cycle, something new will always get born into your life. And then you'll have the next center of your solar system. And you'll have the next center of your solar system. You'll manage it in accordance with the individual thing that it is. You'll struggle with it. You'll find security with it. You'll do dumb things, but somehow get through it. Okay? You'll get lucky. And through that, you'll find the path to best pursue what will be more fulfilling and less painful, until it comes that you've realized the fulfillment necessary from that, and then the ego has to transition into the next level of fulfillment. And it's just a cycle that goes on and on. There's no rest with anything. And to think that we can get to a point in our lives and stop is foolish. You know, we can never get to a point in our lives and stop. It's constantly turning. Sometimes it'll turn super fast, other times it'll turn really slow. But it's always turning. And again, now the more you guys know about the planets from astrology, you can apply those things and understand these cards better. But it's really fun too to look at the relationships of the cards you get up in people's spreads with their good and bad planets. So now you know if the Chariot comes up reversed or the Hangman comes up reversed, they've got Rahu issues in their chart. You know, which means they're busy thinking the world is giving to them and really, instead of realizing that they're creating the world, basically. If a person has Hermit upside down and Fool upside down a lot, there's something wrong with their K2. They don't have the ability to connect deeply to something. As a result, they're always connecting superficially to things, which means life doesn't go anywhere. For anything to happen in life, we have to take it to that next level. We have to connect to something deeply. We have to get a deep understanding, a deep connection, a deep feeling. It has to be a deeper connection, which happens with K2. If we're always in a superficial state, we can't get there though. So we have to be in a state of full embracing something that doesn't make sense, which is the Fool, or a state of fully concentrating something that does make sense. Okay? And then we take it to the next cycle and keep on going.